I'm thinking about selling my Submariner. Not because it's bad, because iconic doesn't always mean right. And if I'm questioning a $10,000 Rolex after 15 years of collecting, you've probably bought the wrong watch too. These are 7 watches YouTube says you need. Reddit, watch forums, your friends who just discovered the hobby. They're wrong. I'm here to tell you why you should skip them and what to buy instead. Number 1, the watch that photographs better than it wears. The Tissot PRX. You've seen it everywhere. TikTok, YouTube, your friend's wrist at brunch. I actually bought one of these on release day. Got caught up in the hype and wore it constantly for the first 2 months. Then it sat in a drawer. Know why? Because I remembered something about fast fashion that applies to all watches. This is the H&M of watches, not in quality, but in trend cycle. The finishing is legitimately good, the movement is solid, but like fast fashion, it doesn't stand the test of time. And the 50 to 60% depreciation the moment you walk out of the store, that's the market telling you this integrated bracelet trend has an expiration date. Not because it's bad, because it's trendy and trends age poorly. Now look, the PRX has Tissot's quick release system. You can swap straps if you buy a PRX specific one, but you need Tissot's expensive straps or aftermarket options designed specifically for this case. Here's what nobody is telling you. In 2020, everyone wanted a Royal Oak homage. In 2023, everyone wanted a PRX. In 2026, everyone will want something else, and you'll be stuck with $725 worth of remember when those were cool? Now, let's talk about what you're actually getting. You get a Powermatic 80 movement that's based on the ETA 2824-2 and a solid link bracelet that's actually well executed for the price. Tissot did their homework here, and from a pure finishing standpoint, this is competitive. But remember that resale value. If you were to sell it, you'd lose about $350. Resale value isn't everything, but this watch tanks so much, it's a serious problem and a major reason it's on this list. So skip the PRX. Get the Tissot Gentleman Powermatic 80 for $775. Same brand, standard lug so you can actually swap straps, and a better movement with silicone balance spring. Or save up $200 more and get a Seiko Presage for $950. Silk texture dial, better finishing, and real versatility. Buy what will still look good when the algorithm moves on. Now, number 2 is where things get a little uncomfortable, and I need to address this head on. The San Martin. Recently, I featured the San Martin in my under $200 video. It's comparable to watches costing $1,000. Not similar, comparable. The difference is the logo and the heritage. After that video, a lot of you commented the same thing. I loved it for a month, and then I realized I'm wearing a knockoff, and it bothers me every time I wear it. That stuck with me. But here's the reality. It was right for a very specific type of person. If you're a new collector who wants to experience Submariner design language without spending $10,000, the San Martin makes sense. You're exploring, you're figuring out what you like. $200 to test if you even like dive watches. That's smart. Or if you're someone who likes homages, you collect them, you appreciate the value. You're not pretending it's something it's not. Great. Eyes wide open, no problem. But look, that's maybe 10% of the people who buy these. The other 90%, that's a different story. They're buying a San Martin because they want a Rolex Submariner but can't afford it. And they're hoping nobody notices it's not real. That's where the problem starts. That's the mental tax, and it costs more than $200. Another thing nobody mentions, brand reputation. San Martin doesn't have one, or not in the way that Seiko, Orient, or Tissot do. If you ever want to sell this watch, you're dealing with a brand that's known for one thing, copying other brands' designs. That's not a reputation that holds resale value. That's a surefire way to destroy it. The San Martin isn't a bad watch. It's training wheels for a Submariner ownership. The reality about training wheels, you outgrow them fast. So here's my updated recommendation. If you're in the 10% experimenting with design language as a new collector, or you genuinely collect homages and you're honest about it, then buy it. But if you're in that 90%, buying it because you can't afford the real thing and you're hoping to fake it, get something else. Save that $200. Add another $200 and buy a Seiko 5 GMT for $400. It's an original design with an actual GMT complication. Or buy an Orient Komatsu for $300. In-house automatic movement, sapphire crystal, 200 meters of water resistant, and a distinctive design that's genuinely original. Buy something with its own identity that you don't have to justify or explain. If you bought a San Martin from my last video and love it, then keep it. This isn't about you. This is about that 90% out there watching this video. And to those people, don't. All right, number 3, and this one's going to make some of you pissed. The Rolex Datejust 41mm. And I need to say this clearly. You're buying the wrong Datejust. I almost bought the 41mm 4 times. Tried it on at the AD, came this close to pulling the trigger. And every time I walked away because something felt off. Then I ran the numbers, and here's what I found. The 36mm Datejust has a lug to diameter ratio of 0.56. That's 20mm lugs on a 36mm case. That's the golden ratio, the mathematically perfect proportions that designers chase across architecture, art, watchmaking. Rolex spent 70 years refining those proportions to create visual balance. But the 41mm, that's a different story. They inflated the case to 41mm, but only bumped the lugs to 21mm. That drops the ratio to 0.51. Doesn't sound like much, but here's why that matters. Your eye expects the watch head to flow into the bracelet proportionally. When the case grows, but the bracelet barely widens, you get a visual disconnect. So nobody wants to admit, buying a watch at an AD is like making bad decisions at a bar after a few too many drinks past 2 a.m. Everything seems like a great idea under those lights. The sales guy is hyping you up. Go bigger, 41mm looks amazing on you. That's the one. And you walk out feeling confident. Then you wake up the next morning, look at your wrist, why the is this so big? AD beer goggles, man. Don't let them make a $10,000 decision for you. The vintage market is already signaling a shift. Collectors are gravitating back towards smaller Datejust. The 36mm is having a moment. Proportion matters more than size. Don't be the last person to figure that out. Buy the DJ36. Correct proportion, timeless design, and actually fits human wrist anatomy. Or save $3,000 and get an Omega Aquaterra 38mm for $7,000. Better value, better proportions, and no beer goggles required. Now, number 4 is tricky because this is actually a great watch. The Tudor Black Bay 58. The finishing is excellent, the movement is solid, the proportions are better than most modern divers. The vintage aesthetic is beautiful without being chintzy. So why am I putting this on the list? Now, Teddy Baltazar, who I respect, loves the BB58. He's made multiple videos praising it. But here's where Teddy and I part ways. I think that $2,000 premium you're paying over a Longines Legend diver, that's just for the Tudor name. You're buying Rolex Association, not $2,000 worth of better watchmaking. Teddy sees the Tudor heritage and brand story that's worth the premium. I see it as a Rolex Tax for people who can't get a Submariner. We both own Rolexes. We just disagree on whether Tudor earns the premium or borrows from it. Let's break this down. First, the Rolex Tax. At $4,500 in 2025, you're paying $1,100 more than the Longines Legend Diver 39mm, with comparable finishing and arguably a better movement. Let's break down what the Longines Legend Diver 39mm actually gives you. Articulated bracelet links. That means no wrist gaps like you get with the BB58. Micro adjustment clasp. Tudor doesn't have this. And a silicone balance spring. Same as Tudor. And all of that for $3,400. These aren't deal breakers, but at $4,500, Longines gives you the better package for less. So should you buy it? Well, if you can find it at $3,900 used, then yes, that's a fair value for what you're getting. Or get that Legend Diver 39mm for $3,400 and save the money. If you agree with Teddy that the Tudor story is worth the premium, then buy it. If you agree with me that you're just paying for an adjacent crown, skip it. Real quick, if this is saving you thousands, hit subscribe for more videos that'll do the same. And drop a comment. Which watch do you disagree with the most? I read the comments, so let's debate. Okay, now let's talk about expensive mistakes that cost real money. Number 5, and this one's going to fire up the watch forums, the Grand Seiko Snowflake. All right, I need to give everyone a reality check around this watch. This watch used to be underpriced. At $4,500 in 2018, it was incredible value. Today at $6,900, Grand Seiko priced themselves into Rolex territory without Rolex recognition or better watchmaking. Let's be honest about something. That spring drive everyone raves about, it's a quartz movement with a mechanical regulator. Horologically interesting? Absolutely. But at $6,900, this looks like a $500 Seiko to 99% of the people. So if you don't care about recognition, buy a Seiko Presage sharp-edged or a baby snowflake Presage for $1,200. You'll get 90% of the aesthetic. If you do care about recognition, if you're that guy, at $6,900, buy an Omega Aquaterra. It's basically the same price and will actually strike up a conversation with people. If you love Grand Seiko, look at the gray market at like $4,500. You'll get the same watch with better value. But be aware, no Grand Seiko warranty, service costs are $600 to $800, and Grand Seiko ADs won't service gray market watches in most regions. If you want the full brand experience, wait for a sale at an AD instead. All right, number 6, the watch everyone says you need to own, the Omega Speedmaster, the MoonSwatch. And I need to tell you something, I own one. I bought it because according to YouTube and the collector community, you don't have a real watch collection unless one of these is in it. And that peer pressure, it's real, seriously. And it's gotten to an almost toxic level. Again, Teddy also loves the Speedmaster. He said multiple times it's a watch every collector should own. And look, for him, maybe that's true. He genuinely values the moon landing story and the historical significance. Or maybe it's to help him sell more Omegas, just saying. But a lot of people buy this because they're told they should, not because they genuinely connect with it. That significance only matters if you care about it. Here's what I realized after owning it. It's 42 millimeters, and there are alternatives that are more unique. The peer pressure around this watch has made people feel like they're not a real collector if they don't own one. And to me, that's just bananas. If you're buying it for a wedding, graduation, or promotion, don't. You'll wear it for photos, then baby it because it's too nice for every day. Instead, get a Hamilton Intramatic Auto Chrono for like $2,200 instead. An automatic chronograph that you'll actually wear. If you're buying it because you just got into watches and the MoonSwatch is iconic, slow down. Buy a Baltic Tri-Compax. Learn what you like to wear first, then buy the Speedmaster if you still want it in a year. The reality of owning a Hesalite Speedmaster, it scratches if you just look at it wrong. You'll baby it, you'll need polywatch, and you'll hand wind it every day. Is that the experience you want for $7,800? Or are you buying it because the watch community says you should? Remember that San Martin mental tax, that feeling of, am I wearing this for me or for others? The Speedmaster has that same tax, just a lot more expensive. If you absolutely want a Speedmaster, wait for a gray market deal at $5,900. Just remember what you're trading. If you're buying it because Teddy and the watch community says you should, skip it. But be honest, do you need a chronograph? Or do you just want one because the MoonSwatch has one? If the answer is rarely or never, get a Zen 556 for about $1,500 retail or $1,200 on the secondary. Anti-reflective coating on both sides of the sapphire. You'll actually wear it every day and you'll never have to hand wind it. And you'll save $6,000. Okay, before the last watch, everything here is my opinion and it's from my experience. Own one of these and love it, keep it. That's all that really matters. Own one and don't love it, well, maybe this is your permission slip to let it go. I'm just giving you perspectives that most content creators are scared to say. All right, last watch on the main list. Number 7, and this one's gonna get a little wild. The MoonSwatch, or really any of these Swatch and Omega collabs. Felix, I'm sorry in advance. The MoonSwatch, Bioceramic, Scuba 50 Fathoms, or whatever release they have next, they're all the same problem. Omega took iconic watches and made Happy Meal versions, and people lined up for them. For $260, you get Swatch's Bioceramic, 2/3 ceramic, 1/3 biosourced plastic from castor oil, a basic quartz movement, and the privilege of standing in line for hours pretending you bought a Speedmaster. Here's what the hype chasers won't tell you. These sat on shelves by month 3. The Mission to Mars MoonSwatch, currently available anywhere from $240 or less, available way below retail. The hype has just evaporated. That $260 could get you a Casio Duro for $60 or a Timex Marlin for $250. But no, people bought Bioceramic with Omega and Swatch on the dial because they wanted to feel like they owned a Speedmaster without paying Speedmaster prices. Here's the problem. Omega took one of the most iconic watches in history, the watch that went to the moon, and made a $260 version. This is not about accessibility like they try to feed you. This is brand equity destruction for short-term cash. With this release, Omega told everyone, the Speedmaster design isn't sacred. We'll make it out of cheap parts and give it a fancy name if it sells. You don't own a Speedmaster, you own a toy. And unfortunately, you'll realize that in 6 months when you're stuck with $260 worth of bioceramic that looks like plastic, feels like plastic, well, because it's plastic. Save that $260, add $35, and get an Orient Bambino 38 millimeters for around $295. In-house automatic movement with exhibition caseback showing real Japanese watchmaking. Get a real watch with its own identity. All right, that's 7 watches you should skip, but there is one more. One watch so controversial I wasn't even going to include it on the list because technically it's not really a watch. But number 8, the Apple Watch Ultra 2. Let me ask, what does this watch actually say about you? For me, I need to be blunt with you here. The Apple Watch tracks your steps, shows notification, measures your heart rate, controls your music, pays for coffee, and yeah, I know, but Jason, I can't pull my phone out during a run. Fine. If you're training for a marathon or need medical monitoring, buy an Apple Watch. That's what it's for. But if you're tracking your steps on a walk to Starbucks, you don't need an $800 leash to tell you you're sedentary. You already know. Your phone knows. You just want an excuse to check notifications without looking rude. That's not fitness. That's dependency dressed up as health. The people most dependent on tech, corporate drones, middle management, your dad's boss, look, maybe that's you. Maybe you wear one, but if you came to this video for watch content, you're in the market for something different. This is the watch equivalent of ordering a salad at a steakhouse. You came here for a real watch, not a notification machine. So skip the Apple Watch. Take that $800 and get a Seiko Alpinist. And this is the watch Japanese mountaineers wore to disconnect from civilization in 1959. It has a 70-hour power reserve. Wear it Friday, skip the weekend, and it's still running Monday. No charging required. Your kids and their kids can wear this watch one day. Try saying that about an Apple Watch. Your granddad wears this, and so does every other middle manager who thinks crushing it is a personality. You can do better. So here's the real lesson. Don't buy any watch because YouTube told you to. Not this video, not Teddy's videos, and not anyone's. Don't buy to impress people. Don't buy knockoffs, and don't buy hype. Remember that Submariner that I mentioned at the start, the one I'm thinking about selling? I've been keeping it because YouTube says I should, because it's iconic. But maybe I'll sell it, and maybe I won't. The decision will be mine, not yours, and not the algorithms. Buy what serves you. Subscribe for more videos like this, and check out our website at thewatchbros.com to win a free watch. Yes, we give away a watch every month. We also have links to all of our social, merch, and behind-the-scenes content. Thanks for watching. Until next time, wear in good health.